On September 8, 1900, the most powerful storm in American history made landfall on a barrier island off the coast of Texas. No one saw it coming. No one could stop it. And by the time the sun rose the next morning, the city of Galveston was gone. At least 8,000 people were dead. Some estimates say 12,000. Nobody knows for certain because there was no one left to count. This is the story of the deadliest natural disaster in United States history, and almost nobody talks about it. In 1900, Galveston was not a small town. It was one of the most important cities in America, the fourth busiest port in the entire country, wealthier per capita than almost any other American city. Cotton, banking, commerce, grand Victorian mansions lined the streets. Streetcars ran along the avenues. The city had electric lights and a thriving social scene. Galveston was the crown jewel of Texas. It was also built on a sandbar. The island of Galveston sits barely 8 feet above sea level at its highest point. The Gulf of Mexico laps at its southern shore. Galveston Bay wraps around its northern edge. It is, by any geological measure, an extraordinarily vulnerable place to build a city of 40,000 people. People knew this. Scientists warned about it. In 1891, a young Cuban meteorologist named Isaac Klein, working for the U.S. Weather Bureau in Galveston, wrote an article dismissing concerns about hurricane risk. He argued the shape of the Gulf made a catastrophic storm surge impossible. He was wrong. 9 years later, he would watch his own house wash away. On September 4th, a tropical disturbance was tracked moving through Cuba. The U.S. Weather Bureau in Washington received reports. The chief meteorologist, Willis Moore, was famously resistant to outside information, particularly from Cuban forecasters who had developed better hurricane tracking methods than the Americans. Moore blocked the use of their data. He rerouted storm warnings away from the Gulf and toward Florida instead. In Galveston, Isaac Klein noticed something that morning of September 8th. The swells coming in off the Gulf were enormous, far larger than the wind should have produced. He rode a horse along the beach, warning residents. But the skies were still partly cloudy. The morning was almost beautiful. Most people did not leave. By noon, the water was rising. By mid-afternoon, the streets were flooding. By evening, the storm was fully on top of the city. Winds exceeded 140 miles per hour. The storm surge, a wall of water pushed ashore by the hurricane, reached 15 feet in some areas. On an island that stood 8 feet above sea level, there was nowhere to go. Buildings collapsed. People clung to debris. Entire neighborhoods were swept into the bay. The sturdy structures became death traps as roofs caved in and walls buckled. People tied themselves together with rope so their bodies would not be separated. Many of them drowned together. Clara Barton, founder of the American Red Cross, arrived to help coordinate relief. She was 78 years old. She stayed for weeks. The dead were too numerous to bury. The bodies were loaded onto barges and taken out to sea. The sea brought them back. The city eventually burned the dead in massive pyres on the beach, a task that took weeks. And then Galveston did something remarkable. It did not give up. The city built a seawall, 17 feet tall, 16 feet thick at the base, stretching eventually for 10 miles along the Gulf shoreline. They raised the grade of the entire island, pumping sand dredged from the bay underneath the city, lifting the ground level by as much as 17 feet in some places. They moved buildings, they raised streets, they rebuilt. When another major hurricane struck Galveston in 1915, the seawall held. The death toll was 8. 8 people, compared to 8,000. Engineering had done what geography could not. Galveston never fully recovered its former dominance. Houston, sitting safely inland, grew into the great Texas city instead. The railroads and commerce shifted. Galveston remained, but as a shadow of what it had been before the night the Gulf came ashore. The storm of 1900 changed how America thought about disaster preparedness, weather forecasting, and the relationship between cities and the natural world. The Weather Bureau reformed, hurricane tracking improved, seawalls went up along coastlines across the country. But none of that helped the people of Galveston on the night of September 8, 1900. When the water came, it came faster than anyone could run. It came higher than any building on the island could stand. It came for a city that had been told and had chosen to believe that it was safe. 8,000 people went to sleep that Friday night in one of the proudest cities in America. By Saturday morning, most of them were gone, buried under mud, debris, and silence. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for weekly history videos.